Greetings, dear ones. This is Friday, January 30th, 2026, and this is the weekly Revolutionary Revelations episode series on what is going on in our world globally and how that is directly related to what's going on with us internally, and or what we can do to transform those transpersonal pieces. And by transpersonal, I mean that there is an exact replication on the macro as there is in the micro, which is your individual self, each of us individual selves. So the title today is "And I Still Loved You." And in a way, it is a follow up or a continuance of the episode a couple weeks ago, was why they don't see. And so many people were asking us, like, how is it that people can still believe the lies? How is it that people can still choose to not believe their own eyes and what they're seeing in the world, and in particular incidents in Minnesota? And that talk centered on the way in which we turn our eyes away from what is our, not just our physical eyes, but our emotional eyes, away from what is occurring to us as children in order to be able to survive within it. And this talk today takes it a bit further into, all the things that a child in their very early and young years expect and want and need, and the ways in which those are not only more often than not met, but instead something else is given, or a way in which that need or want is handled that causes a deep wounding. I oftentimes liken it to a child being hungry and expecting food or wanting food. And this is sometimes, we're talking about very, very early patterns, very young within the child. And so that expectation of, I'm hungry, this is when I need to eat, and that being either ignored or discounted, or poo-pooed, or you'll just have to wait until I say so, or it's convenient for me, all of which are parts of this wounding. But it feels like to a child that they are asking for food, and what is coming in return is sand. And that devastation over and over and over again causes us to respond in a certain way, or believe and perceive things in a certain way, such that, as related to the talk a couple weeks ago, we just cannot allow ourselves to truly see what is going on on the world stage, in our national stage. And it is born out of that child's inability to really take in what is happening. So in this instance, this is another degree of that we all, the one of the observations from clients and colleagues and etc. this week is this level of tolerance that we seem to have as humans, that how much we tolerate what is being taken from us, what is being done to us, what we're being deprived of. In this case, right now, our rights, our freedom, our ability to speak and do and say and live the way we choose to is under attack. And that again reflects in a child's life of what seem like minor things to adults, but to a child it's absolutely heart-wrenching, devastating to your whole little system, energetic, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. So, when things happen, like let's use that little metaphor of needing and wanting food and receiving sand back. And, the first time or two or three or 10, it's still shock to the system. It's like your body, your little primal, primitive, instinctive, innate system, because this is long before brain is involved in the process. All of you is wanting and needing and expecting that which ideally should be naturally coming from a parent. And so when it doesn't happen, let's just say again, child wants food, they're given sand. It's a shock to the system. Literally, it it the shock reverberates throughout the whole physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic bodies. And that shock continues to happen. And this, again, please remember there's no brain involved here. We're talking about 1, 2, 3 years old, maybe up to 4, these very, very devastating, endangering to our very existence patterns. Not that others don't occur in another way beyond that up until about age 8, but these very, my life being on the line here. Food is something that is absolutely necessary to the human child. And as is care and concern and protection and safety and encirclement and attending to and tuning into a child, that even when they are able to verbalize some words, are not able to, they're not expected, they should not have to say what they need and what they want. It is upon the parent to tune in and know what is going on with that little being, be it little tiny clues, signs, gestures, look on their face, their eyes. It much like someone, tuning into their pet, have to figure out all the little clues and bites of information as to what's going on with that animal, because they can't speak, they can't put into words what's going on with them, and again shouldn't have to. This is our job. This is the obligations and responsibilities and duties and commitments and promises that we make in either adopting a pet, and much more so, of course, when we decide to have a child. So first comes that shock again and again and again and again to the system, and this is literally, children of those ages do not have filters. They do not have filters on their psycho-emotional centers, the chakras. They do not have any filters or any means of preventing whatever may be coming in, whether it's loud noises, loud voices, cold, heat, excessive heat and cold. There is no protection. There are no filters. And so it is upon the parents to provide all of that, to create a safe and secure environment in which this little innocent, open, raw little being can develop. And so after those shocks, many times occurring the shocks, then the little system, again, remember, we're not talking about cognitive processing here. It is believes, oh, it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. And kind of comes to the situation over and again with fresh eyes, with fresh being. And that deep belief of, oh no, they won't do it again. It can't happen again, stays in us as a means of warding off that massive shock that comes in when it does happen again. And then as they grow a little bit, there are so many different ways in which that danger, that neglect, that ignoring of what's really going on with the child inside and even in their physical world. And now the child is, oh my goodness, that they did it again. It feels the same way. It looked different, but they did it again. I can feel it. And then as again it progresses, it's like, oh my, now here it is in that form. Oh my, now it's coming in this way. Now it's coming at me in that way. Or now it's not there in this way. Or it's not there in that the other way. And the little being, the little system goes into massive confusion. Like that statement, that phrase, does not compute, does not compute. And they are not, remember, computing cognitively fully here at this point in any way, shape, or form. So it's this confusion and clashing between what are natural needs, wants, and expectations with what is coming at them or what is not coming in response to those needs and wants and expectations. And so it confuses, there's this huge conflict in the system and confuses what is naturally coming forth, what is innately presenting itself intuitively, instinctively, and what then the system, again, on these deep levels expect. And when the contrary is happening, or the need and want is not being met, the expectation is not being responded to in the way that it could be, would be, should be, then comes kind of this system questioning, is like, how can they not know? How can they not see what's going on with me and what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, this horrible thing that's going on inside of me? How can they not know? How can they not see? Because again, the entire system expects that of a parent. It expects the response, much like you see in, certain animal species where the parents are right there, right on top of it, right, aware of and doing everything possible to respond in those instances. Very, basic food, shelter. But to a little human child, when there isn't the response emotionally, energetically, spiritually, much less physically, then it is under constant life threat. Their very existence is at stake, because somehow within that innate, intuitive, instinctive, primal aspects of us, parts of us, we know that we are incapable of creating, again, there's no brain here. It's like, I can't do this. I can't go get the food. I can't create shelter for myself. Again, no brain. It's as if there is this, again, instinctive, innate knowing that I am at the mercy of. So in that confusion, and then there's the awareness of, how can they not know? They're supposed to know. right? And then as it continues, as those responses continue or lack thereof continue, then there is a physio-energetic emotional awareness of, oh my God, they do know, and they're going ahead and doing it anyway. And actually, those are kind of two steps. It's first like, oh my gosh, they do know. Or, and it's actually much quieter, much more internal. It's like, oh my goodness, they do know what they're doing. They do know that I need and want something else, and they're not providing that or giving me this other. They do know that that's terrifying me. They do know that that is making me feel alone and scared. And then the next level of that is, oh my gosh, they know, and they're going ahead and doing it anyway. And it's hard to believe that, again, this is not a process that goes through the little one's brain. This is something internal that sits in the cells thereafter. It sits in thereby the muscles and the body systems, and primarily it sits in the physio-energetic psycho-emotional centers within the energy field, and that are also directly connected into the body. So depending on what type of wounding there is, affects different psycho-emotional centers, chakras within the body. But what we're all dealing with right now, and what I'm referring to today, are those very, very young patterning, wound patterning that occurs. And we're talking 1, 2, less than 1, 2, 3, maybe into 4. And that's not to say that there isn't a constant existential threat felt by that child throughout their growing up years, even though it is pushed down very deeply in the system and not on a regular intellectual awareness. But it's still sitting in there, which is why we have the continued massive anxiety levels and panic attacks that people are having. It shows up all the way out to there. And this depth of fear for our very existence is also reflective of the trajectory of man from the most, again, primitive primal, where if we weren't in a cave protected or up a tree or in some way, then we had very large animals after us attacking us. So our very lives were under threat. And this stays embedded in our systems as well. And seen not only through the child's wounding, but we're seeing that in our world today. That has always been fact. Now it's starvation for countries, pulling away all of the aid for foreign countries, taking the food out of children's mouths with the different programs, SNAP and early childhood provision and school meals, etc., that have been taken from us through our current government structure leaders. And so this is playing into our own individual experiences of having our lives under threat and our very sustenance, our food being provided for us. And in the extreme cases, of course, we have children who are severely abused, severely neglected, and we're seeing that in some of the actions taken by world leaders or leaders of countries that are devastating their people. And it is in process here in our country, in the United States. So that realization that they know what they're doing to me and going ahead and doing it anyway is literally devastating to the system all the way down to the cells, as I said. And again, what is happening today, it's like, are you kidding me? They know what's going on. They've already allowed someone to die, be shot rather, killed, and now nothing is happening, and it's happening again. That doesn't take into account all of those people that have been killed that were not white, up until now through this process, and those that are being abused and used and killed within the detention centers. So, again, that how can they not see? It's very, very, very difficult for a child to continuously accept, oh my goodness, you know what you're doing to me and you're going ahead and doing it anyway. And the next level of that, or the sensation is, you're the last person that should be doing this to me. You are the one that's supposed to protect and provide and care for me and follow through on all of the commitments, obligations, and promises of a parent to an innocent, helpless child. And so, again, we're seeing this. Are you kidding me? My own government is attacking me. My own government is taking the food out of the mouths of people. My own government is killing without lawfulness. This is, again, so difficult for people to truly see and realize and accept. Even when they do on an intellectual basis, then it's not necessarily allowed by the entire system, by the defense system rather, to reach into those places where it very personally, individually, uniquely happened to each and every one of us. Because make no mistake, it did. No matter how wonderful one believes their childhood was, no matter how great a degree away from physical, sexual abuse and neglect there may have been, it is on more subtle basis, it is on a deeper basis, but each one of us experienced these wounds to whatever degree, to whatever extent. And it is occurring in our world today, giving us the opportunity to go within and find those places and transform them, work with them, feel your own experience of, oh my God, they're doing this to me. And they know it. And they're going ahead and doing it anyway. And you are the last person that should be doing this to me. And then the next level of that is, oh my God, maybe if I just make you okay, maybe if I just keep my head down, maybe if I stop being what I don't think you want me to be, maybe if I stop shining my light and being radiant, maybe if I take care of you, maybe if I make sure that you're okay by picking up the slack and doing that which is far beyond my capability and responsibility as a child, maybe, I'll fill that gap of the spouse that's not doing so. And when those things may seem to work a little bit for the child, or at least, let me say this, it doesn't necessarily work. it allows the child to have some semblance of control in the situation. And I don't mean control like to control it, because children have no control over what's going on, absolutely and completely. And they are powerless to do anything. They have no leverage, and they are trapped in this situation. They cannot leave until they're 15, let's say at the youngest, 14, 15 at the youngest, and even then find themselves without aid out on the streets. We have so many teenagers at this point in that position. And that patterning of maybe if I just, maybe if I don't, maybe if I, and that adjustment to who we are continues on as we grow up and stays in our system as adults. And we continue those behaviors, we continue to do those not exactly compensating actions and responses, because it doesn't actually compensate, but it does allow the child and us as people to feel like we are doing something. Had someone make had a question or a comment that, you know, how is it that someone, or they posted something about giving and giving and giving as a caregiver is bullshit. And I responded, well, it's not exactly bullshit. It's a distortion of our own natural way of offering and giving and opening ourselves to another. That is an essence piece that is within us all, but in certain people who have designed their soul project to be either nurses, doctors, caregivers, therapists, etc., etc., etc. But when that distortion stays, then there is the overgiving. Then there is the exhaustion, because I cannot do enough. I keep doing and doing and doing, and I must do, even to the cost of myself and those around me, in order to, again, this is the little computation from, or the little algorithm from a child, in order to be safe, in order to be okay, in order to have any possibility of receiving what I want and what I need. And then, unfortunately, comes the next level of this process of receiving the neglect or abuse, and it is abuse, on even when it's to a small extent. Then the realization that, oh my gosh, it's always going to be this way. It is not going to be any different. And yet, living with that every day is an impossibility. This knowledge of, oh my gosh, they know what they're doing and they're going to do it anyway. Oh my gosh, you're the last person that should be doing this to me. Oh my gosh, it's always going to be this way. It literally would blow the system apart, and the child, on a very unconscious basis, would then figure out a way to leave. Not consciously, but unconsciously. I cannot handle this, I cannot tolerate this, and they leave. Children get sick, they die, they are in accidents all the time. We as souls have say-so of when and how we choose to leave. So most of those that are here right now are very, very old, very, very large souls who have chosen to come and take advantage of this point in the evolutionary trajectory of this planet, and also know that they want to participate in this larger evolutionary process, because it's never been done this way before, and never to this extent. So it's like being in the right place at the right time for your own soul's expansion, but also to know that that dovetails and fits right in with this larger project of the collective. And by the collective, I don't just mean humans. I mean everything seen and unseen on this planet and around this planet. This is a huge universal project. So to be in on it is exciting and wondrous for a soul. So everyone that is here because they choose to, they want to, for their own soul's benefit, but also for the greater evolutionary project. And then, the next step in that process is the shutting down of those parts of us that are wanting and needing and expecting, and realizing that it's not going to come. So we must shut down our innate knowing, our internal communication system with our soul, our inner wisdom and knowing, realization of what's going on around us, what's going on in our little world, which is our parents, and inclusive, yes, of siblings and others, but it's primarily a child's world is themselves and their parents, whether there's one, two, or what have you. And that yearning, that wanting, that aching, that hunger for these emotional, spiritual, energetic foods, if you will, from the parent never ceases. So in order to coincide that with what's going on the outside, we shut down the voice that is saying, this isn't right, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, you are not supposed to be treating me this way. And we keep attempting over and over and over again, repeating that method that we came up with of either in some way controlling our own beingness or attempting to control our environment, i.e., making that one safe, keeping that one happy, doing all the work so they don't have to, innumerable ways. And that's the only thing that we do have control over as little ones, is our own body, our own emotions, our own voice. So we have to shut down that inner voice, that inner wisdom, that inner knowing, because it so clashes with what we're experiencing. And the system could not handle that. It blows apart. Or, as I said, continuously weakens a particular area of the psycho-emotional body, and then ultimately resulting in some sort of dis-ease or illness, because that energy center is not feeding the physical body as it is meant to. So that needing and wanting and hoping never stops. It never ceases. It's still under there, pushing, hoping, wanting, seeking. And so as a result, we ignore what is actually happening. We believe or buy into what we're being told, what is being done to us. And therein lies the title for today's talk, And I Still Loved You. You discounted or dismissed my needs, physical, emotional, spiritual, and still I loved you. You took from me, you stole from me the very food from me, my safety, my taking my energy, taking my emotional energy. And still I love you. Still I love you. And so we see this constant abuse in societies. Because of that, I can't believe this is really happening. The ability to adjust oneself and one's immediate environment to be able to tolerate what is being experienced, and continuing to hope and need and want and replicating all of the parameters and all of the circumstances of that childhood experience in the hopes that this time, oh, my previous boss was like this, and he treated me so badly, etc. But now I've changed departments and I have a new boss, and it's not going to happen again. It's not going to be that way. And sure enough, we find it is. Or continuously with partners and spouses. Oh my gosh, it happened again. Oh my gosh, they are the same. And still still keep forging away based in those distortions of ourself. Um, I'm sorry, there's a little flit here. You took advantage of my love for you, my care for you. And, that's often seen as somebody saying, I'm doing this for your own good, or our own government saying, ultimately it's going to turn out for the best. Ultimately, it is going to benefit you, even though the system, the body system, the individual system is beginning to feel the effects of the not having and clashing with the words of you will have, or I am giving you, or I am doing for you, I do care about you. And you took for granted that you can just get away with this, and still I love you. And oftentimes we see that it's like, it's only, you're just a child, or that is just a child. She won't get it. He won't get it. They'll be fine. They don't know what's going on anyway. They'll get over it and they'll adjust to it. Those statements are as devastating as someone who just, again, it's still that knowing and choosing to go ahead and make those choices instead of choosing for and on behalf of that child, instead of tuning in and really getting what's going on and within them, and wanting to do everything possible to protect them and to keep them from harm on all levels. And again, taking for granted, we're seeing that in leadership all over. In countries where they have not always had the freedom to speak out or act or vote or write and do the things that are coming, quite naturally to humans, but the government must control what is said, what is felt, what is thought, in order to take advantage of the population. So, and then there's those, you used your size and your power over me in order to do what you wanted to do, when you wanted to do it, how you wanted to do it. Whether it was apparent, do as I say, not as I do, or it's a threat, because you'll lose your privileges, or, and we're not talking about making an agreement with, a much later point in the age of a child, to these are your responsibilities, these are mine, this is how we are going to meet those. And when not, then these are the consequences. both for the child, and then there should also therefore be for the parent. And so that using your size and power over me because I say so, I'm the parent. The threat of you won't get it. I can remember hearing a friend getting frustrated with the behavior of a child, and instead of necessarily really tuning in and trying to figure out what's underneath this behavior, they said, I heard over this horrible threat: if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you won't ever go to any birthday party again. It was a surrounding birthday party they were supposed to attend. And that for a child, like I think the child was about 6 or so at the time, and that forever, time is very different for a child. So when we say you will never ever go to another birthday party again, that is absolutely devastating. It's not so much about the party and not going to the party, but that a parent can choose to take something away and have that much control forever. And in a little child's life, forever is a little bit different than what we say as adults forever. It is truly forever to them. And again, this threat of if you don't comply, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you will be punished. You will lose things. So we're seeing that again on a national stage where different former people within the government or leaders, whether it's universities in their education or whether it's, we saw it, the attack on law offices. Now there's political rivals or those that are attempting to tell the truth. Again, it's if you do not comply, if you do not go along with what I say, you are going to be attacked and punished. And to a small child, this is oftentimes experienced as a death warrant. And on a larger scale, yes, our very lives are under threat, whether it's directly from in other countries, militarized personnel, or whether, and in our own now, or whether it is the threat of our very earth going so out of balance and out of whack that we are constantly being assaulted with wildfires and floods and horrific ice storms like we've experienced currently this past week here on the East Coast and in the South. So again, I'm hoping that you're kind of really getting this micro and macro experience and why we're responding as adults in the same way that we responded as children, and we are experiencing this in the same way as we did as children. And that hoping and wanting to believe that our leaders are going to do what they're supposed to, that our laws are going to stay in place and protect us, that there is always going to be the things that we want and need, 50,000 varieties of potato chips in our grocery stores, etc., etc., etc. It is still that wanting to believe that it is not the way my deep internal knowing is telling me it is. And that's starting to come through even more. It's getting more and more difficult to turn a blind eye. It's getting more and more difficult to buy into what is termed as gaslighting or lies or omissions of truth, etc., etc. And, another level of that is, or let me rephrase that, you devalued and disrespected my beingness, and still I loved you. Still I love you. It's present, both then and now. You put your needs first ahead of ahead of me. You always chose selfishly your wants and needs over mine, and still I loved you. And we see this in both our, personal finances. Parents oftentimes make choices. I know of neighbors who, or acquaintances, whatever you want to call them, that have a young child and he has a special needs, and they've always chosen what they wanted, whether it was over purchasing, and then there's not money enough for school, or continuing education. There's so many tiny little ways in which the choosing of or using of finances are harming a child, and that they are powerless in that. So, what we're finding ourselves in, this repetition. And it was interesting, one of the energetics that came through this morning in a card I decided to pull was stuck in the mud. And this looping that we've been doing throughout tens of thousands of years at this point, in choosing to explore this particular form of duality and separation that we've been in. And its time has come. It is there is no other levels of exploration of this particular form. In other words, where these devastating first and second chakra aspects of human nature must go. They must evolve. They are no longer, we can no longer grow and become and expand as a species when there is the threat of war, when there is the stealing and taking of our freedom, our resources, our means of expression, etc. So, and again, throughout history, there have been the very small group at the top of this pyramid structure, and they hold all of the power and all of the control and all of the resources. And we're seeing the large scale effects of that through, again, leaders in government, corporations, large entities, banks, etc. And it's not going to work anymore. It has throughout history with kings and emperors and popes and conquerors, military leaders. It has worked. And the people have suffered. The people have had no power, no control, and were absolutely trapped because there wasn't any means of rising. There wasn't any means of knowledge and access to resources to be able to make a difference, to be able to make a choice and truly follow through on it. Now there is. There is too much knowledge. Doesn't matter how much a government tries to hoodwink and gaslight and lie and create one narrative. It's been happening in many countries, including China, including Russia, including many other countries around the world. But somehow the internet breaks through. They are receiving information. There is information going out. And at one point or another, all peoples will say enough. And for me and the work that I've been doing for decades, that comes as a tipping point when each individual is doing their own process and their own transmutation of these very early, very deep, very devastating wounds. And because they are so powerful, and our very lives, our very existence was at stake, our very ability to express ourselves, our own internal power, our creation of what we wanted. Those very, very young, very, very tender, very, very raw places we can only go to a certain level intellectually, cognitively, even on the upper levels of emotions. And this, I was talking about the distortion of that helper wanting to be and give and do for others, and that distortion affecting healers of all sorts, of all forms. Which is why I'm bringing forth once again the Path of the Healer course, or Healing the Healers. And that'll be starting, I think the date is February 17th. I will post that. And in response to these very, very young, very, very tender, very, very raw places, I'm offering huge discounts on individual work where we can go in there, because as I started to say a minute ago, there are fail-safes to keep us from going into those tender, terrifying, painful places alone. We aren't meant to go in alone. And so that's why there have been shaman. That's why there have been different types of healers. And that's why this proprietary process that was created over many, many decades has come through to assist people to work with and to remember and be able to hear those voices within once again, and transmute those wounds and those patterns that have kept them shut down, kept them behind closed doors, kept them deep within our bodies and our physical bodies, and that includes our living, our finances, etc. Although they're being reflected in that. So many people are being pushed to the wall, whether it's a physical illness, or whether it's finances, or whether it's their career choices, whether it's relationships. We are all being pushed to the wall of, I don't care what I must do. I don't care what I have to sacrifice. I cannot and will not live like this anymore. I cannot and will not do this to myself anymore. I cannot and will not cause the adjunct and related pain and suffering that I am doing unconsciously and unwittingly, and not desiring to. Whether it's to one's own children, whether it's to friends and family, whether it's to excuse me, those in our community, those on our larger global family. We're all at the point of having to say enough. I'm choosing to do whatever it takes to be able to change these pieces in myself, so that then my world around me is different, my career is different, my finances will be different, or are different, my way of perceiving and interacting and responding to the world is different. These are all things that occur when clients have gone through this process. Their entire reality is different. And then they're able to truly create, not manifest, not set goals, and those are all old methods, even, attraction, etc. This is now literally designing anew. And so another of the upcoming courses I'll be offering this winter and throughout the spring is a very, very deep creation process, very, very deep designing exactly what we want in our individual world and our collective world. So I will be posting that. It is, I'm trying to see, I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up the document with the date. And they've closed a lot of my documents because they did a restart, which is why I was late, and I apologize today. Basically, we are going to be shape shifting ourselves to shape shift the world through the inward hero's journey. So heads up for that. And I think now is a good time to be able to invoke and to call in the different energetics and helpers and offerings of this current week to be able to I'm sorry, it's looking like I am no longer live. I apologize. There we are. So we have always so much help and so many offering to step forward, whether it's beings in the non-physical that perhaps, again, are helpers in this project but have never necessarily been in physical form, whether it's those teachers and masters and examples throughout history. Certainly this week, week prior to this, we were, Martin Luther King. I've left the profile picture on my page because his energy is still here, so strong. It always has been, but right now we have an opportunity to restudy and go back and see how civil disobedience absolutely caused the civil rights laws to be put into place, and which are now once again under attack with the removal of historic plaques that we saw here in Philadelphia, or whether it's the rewriting of history and erasing all those people of color and women that have helped design and create the world that we live in, the country that we live in. Whether it is an attack on certain institutions for following through on DEI policies, or removing women, high-ranking women in our military. This is a devastating attack upon us, and so we can call on those throughout history who are pertinent in the moment as examples and offering their energy for us to be able to cooperate with and collaborate with. One of the things that I absolutely, I'm sorry, let me just check my notes for a moment. I'm just reviewing a section. Yes, we did cover all of that. So the helpers that we have right now, a lot of them come through on a cosmological basis, on an astronomical basis. We are absolutely, this past week, there has been evidence that we can now actually see dark matter, not visually with our eyes, but through different methods that have been used to measure displacement of space, etc. Dark energy is here. Black holes recently have been discovered doing things that we never thought possible. All of these are symbolic of the darkness within us coming forth. the whole universe being mapped. This is allowing us on again, a kind of a metaphoric, allegorical basis to see the bigger picture of the evolution of our species. The innovations in science, I've so often mentioned them. We now, this week, I saw solar panels that are being developed to be able to access energy at night. The ways in which we are able to extract water from mist and fog, should there be water shortages. There's just constant innovations that are, of course, being suppressed, that, of course, are being having their funds removed in every way. Science, knowledge being suppressed. This is the same thing, again, we see in our individual lives, where a child wants to pursue something, or they naturally exude this energy, this essence energy, and it is not wanted, it is not accepted, it is not welcomed, it is not encouraged, it is not celebrated, and quite to the contrary, oftentimes purposefully, deliberately suppressed, because that would allow the child to become and be, and maybe that is threatening to the adult. Some of, again, this week we had the Remembrance Day of the Holocaust, and we still have denials of that occurring. We still have the attempt to suppress all of the details and the steps through which the horrors occurred. I saw a very short clip from, I think it must have been from the trials at Nuremberg, because I've never actually, me, the movie buff, as you've ever listened to anything that I've taught, you know that movies play a very large part because they often transmit energetics, they envision specific non-physical energetics, or they're able to bring forward in a very short, succinct way a human emotion or a human experience. And yet, that is a movie I have never been able to bring myself to watch. But I do and want to help people remember what is in their individual past and what is in our collective past. Because those histories, it's not just, don't forget it so that, it doesn't happen again, but we do forget. We do forget what happens to us as children. We do forget, so to speak, what that felt, what was done, but we do not forget what it felt like. And when there are larger outpicturings of that same behavior, that same abuse, that same neglect, it hits into like a dart into the target of that pain, that wound in our systems. So when we see this suppression and attempt to ignore and negate and deny what went on in our history, it is we as individuals are experiencing that attempt to negate what we are feeling as far as right and wrong, what we naturally, innately know to be the way things are supposed to be. So we do forget, and one of the pieces that came forward, of course, was that amazing poem that I'm sure most of you or many of you are familiar with, that was written by Pastor Martin Niemöller in regard to what he thought initially was going to be beneficial for his country, and went along with the Nazi Party and went along with the steps that they were taking until such time as he realized, and in my structuring, it would be that until someone felt into what is truly going on and how it reflects internally. That poem I'm referring to is, "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." And we're in that moment right now. And the more we are able to go inside and feel, not just see, but feel where the occurrences on a community-wide basis, on a national basis, on a global basis, is a direct and absolute reflection of a wound within us, giving us the opportunity to transmute, transfigure, or even metamorphosize those deep, primarily right now, first and second chakra aspects, some third. And by that I mean threat to existence, threat to our very food, threat to our environment, threats to our expression, self-expression, our power, our sexual preferences. Those correspond to those first and second chakra issues and those wounds that were so devastating and so deep, which is why everything is at an exaggerated level, so to speak, on the global basis, so that we cannot numb ourselves, turn off that internal innate voice, or choose to turn a blind eye, because it is happening to us just as if we were children once again, and that devastating action, lack of action, response, way of treating us occurred and is occurring on a larger scale. And yet, as I said, we have all of these wonderful helpers this week, more so, all the beautiful response of those in Minneapolis that are gathering together. They are communicating, they are connecting, they are collaborating, they are cooperating, they are communing. All of the aspects that I've been teaching for so many years are the feminine way. And it is a model, not just for how the rest of the country and other communities can practice not only civil disobedience, but how we take care of those that are under threat. For at the moment, it appears to be immigrants, but it is spreading to wider populations. And that poem is very real and is beginning to come into effect. However, it cannot and it will not when each of us do us, and when we gather like those in Minneapolis and other places around the world, cooperating with our environment, cooperating with each other, collaborating, communing, exchanging, and practicing the feminine way. And then, of course, we have the constancy of those qualities of peace and care and concern and givingness that is natural to all of us. And we see that in the walk for peace, of the amazing Buddhist monks. I'm sorry, we have that flit again. Of 2,300-mile journey from Texas all the way up to Washington, D.C., and they're now in Virginia and will shortly be in Washington, D.C. If you have any facility for getting there and being present at the time that they are there, in peace, in joy, in love, in gratitude, which is what they've been engendering the entire way for thousands of people from every walk of life, then I encourage you to do so. I definitely plan to be there, and maybe we can create a communication method to connect up, and if not, just simply your presence with them, behind them, around them, for them is stamping. It is literally anchoring in the way we truly are, that are peaceful, giving, grateful, loving, generous beings. If any of you who are listening have noticed other aspects of our world or the universe or beyond participating this week, please say so in the comments. And of course, it is automatically included. It is automatically within this container that's been created all week, is forming even now. And I invite you to just get comfortable at this point. Excuse me. And we're going to just drop into some of those healing energetics into the container that is offering so very much to us in this moment of healing, of remembering, of becoming, of expanding, of exuding, of participating. And that is a big feature, the choice to participate in whatever way feels right to you in this process of evolution, in this process of realizing and building anew this democracy, this way of being human. And so if you're sitting upright, I encourage you to find a straight spine. What helps oftentimes is rolling your shoulders back and down and letting the scapula, your shoulder blades, just come together a little bit. Seeing if you can find your sits bones, which are in the very center of your buttocks, one on either side, of course. And you might want to put your hands downward facing on your lap. Or for me, oftentimes I like my elbows to the back of the chair or couch I'm sitting on in such a way that it allows for more space in the chest cavity, for more air, and opens up those frontal feeling centers within the chakra system. Another energetic that has been very present this week is, I don't know how exactly to word it, but it's the kind of, how you would hold a little kitten or a little baby in cradling them. That would be the most accurate description, is a cradling. That energy has been here all week, and beyond, but very, very prevalent this week. For this is truly what the earth does for us. It cradles us, it holds us, it embraces us, it creates surrounding us with provision and protection. This beautiful system of how water moves through our world. It's evaporated up into the clouds and then rains down upon us again, and pulled up from the rivers and through the mists. And it is a beautiful system that I invite you and encourage you to study and explore. The land, which with so very little brings abundance forth. When we're not harming, we're not utilizing dangerous chemicals and pesticides that break the system. The abundance, the abundanza that is always here and available for us. The fire, whether it's the fire underneath the earth, that's so many, again, innovations for accessing geothermal energy that is a constantly renewable resource. The very sun energy that we use through solar, again, this abundance of heat and warmth that allows for this planet, when it is not out of balance, to grow and allow for the evolution of land, animals, plants, ultimately people. So we're calling in, therefore, the elements: water, land, fire, and air. The very oxygen that allows for us to live each day, to feed every cell in our body, so that the organs and tissues and muscles and bones, ligaments, all the aspects of our body are fed and lubricated and can function well and healthily when we remove the obstacles. I'm also going to call in the directions today. For this is, and I utilize the 7 direction system, or align with the 7 direction system. For this is a universal project we are involved in. So I'm invoking and asking the directions to please center us individually, all those who are listening or will listen at any time in the future, to center us within those directions, within the direction of, or in relation to the direction of the east, for illumination, the golden door to knowledge, not just factual cognitive knowledge, but wisdom, or the knowledge that becomes wisdom. I'm calling in and calling upon the direction of the west, represented by the cave and the bear, to go inside, introspection, to explore, to sit quietly with, to slow down and feel what's going on inside, not just think, or what I refer to as think feel. The direction of the south, the warmth, the color red, the wide-eyed wonder and playfulness of children, and animals represented by the otter and the porcupine. The direction of the north, with our lady white buffalo representing wisdom, patience, the experience of the elder, prayerfulness. The direction of above, with all our cosmic family, the planets within our solar system and our galaxy, our supercluster of galaxies, which the Milky Way finds itself in. And the universe itself, for this is a universal evolutionary project. As well, I'm inviting in the direction of below, the underworld, that which lies often hidden or in the dark, but is no less vital and alive and offering. And, of course, the direction of within. For therein lies everything. All information, all answers, all experiences, the all. Through our own individual master within, and ultimately in that oneness within ourselves with all the many parts and aspects and experiences of us. And just breathe. No particular way, just notice. Be in connection with your own breath, allowing yourself to feel it move in and out, preferably, if you so choose, your nostrils. Which can then allow you to deepen that breath but without effort, without push, just allowing, just connecting, just experiencing the amazing element of air that brings us our very life. For without it, we do not have life. And if you so choose to deepen your breath by simply feeling or experiencing your rib cage, your chest cavity widening with each breath. And sometimes allows us to more easily be in and with and through and as that breath. And if you so choose to extend the exhale of that deep breath, I think you'll find within a very few breaths your body, your system relaxing, softening, sensating even more easily. Your body, your being, and after, you're certainly welcome to keep doing the vagal breathing, which is deep inhale, extended exhale if you so choose, or just simply allow your body to breathe you at this point. And thereby enabling you to simply be in the experience of your physical body, your energetic body, your wider self, which is your soul self, your spiritual body. Your whole system knows how to sink down and within. Many of you may have been taught to go up and out. However, this is a much wider internal means of being in connection, communication, cooperation, collaboration, and communion with you, in you, as you, from you, to you, through you, within. And I'm gonna just deepen or ask for all of the energetics here present to deepen simply be in, with, through your inner verse. For within you, you hold the entire universe, have access to everything and anything within the universe, through and within you. And some of you might feel this encircling of you happening. We're moving towards that beautiful cradling energy that has been present all week. And just allow yourself to feel that, this blending of energetics and helpers and all that has been mentioned. Stirring, mixing, spinning, blending, alchemically combining for the exact right combination of energetics, catalysts, just right for you and your system at this point in time. And we're just deepening a bit more the energetics. If you feel like you're falling off to sleep, that's fine. You may be dropping into a very deep state, an even altered state. Please allow your system to do what it knows best. Just feel, just allow. Nothing to do, no effort, no work, no push, no do. Just allow. Allow for, in this moment, allowing for it to be done for you. Knowing that your presence, your participation, not only in this practice, but in this universal project, is significant, magnificent, and absolutely vital. If you do nothing else but experience yourself as deeply as you can in this moment. Trust that you are making a huge difference, a huge contribution in simply being you. And we're going to go one notch deeper so that this blending of all that is being offered at this point in time embeds deep in your system to bring you whatever you may need or whatever you may desire to become and be and live who you truly are, not who you had to become or not who you had to stop being. But who you truly are, from the very essence of you. Your human nature that is unique to you and yet at the same time connected and common to each and every human being. And you are welcome to stay in this energetic container, this crucible of alchemical evolution. Or should you so choose, to allow your energy field to bring you from what was perhaps a less physical experience back to a more physical reality or physical experience of consensus reality. And continue on your day, hopefully with having received a bit of respite and restitution through this energetic practice, or perhaps deeper knowledge and wisdom of your own patterning, and any messages, symbols, signs that your personal helpers or of those within this huge universal web of communication. Hopefully so. And should you decide to stay in these energetics, please know that you will be integrated and consolidated when you choose to come back, so to speak. And yes, please do drop in the last part, this energetic practice, whenever and however you so choose. I will be posting this on YouTube as usual, on my channel, A Healers Universe. It's capital A HEALERS Universe on YouTube, where you'll find about 5 or 6 years of talks and energetic practices that are still pertinent to your system when and as you listen to your own internal wisdom as to which recording to listen to, by either the title or perhaps the image or picture that goes along with it. Follow your system. Follow your way. This is the crux of everything that I teach, everything that I do when I'm working with clients, is bringing you to your way, bringing you to deep connection, communication, collaboration, cooperation, and communion within you, of all parts of you, all aspects of you, all levels of you, unto and including other lives, other existences. So, dear ones, heads up, I'll be posting the 2 new classes coming up. And in the meantime, if you're anywhere here, well, actually, it's a huge swath of the United States that is freezing. Other places I know are being challenged with other weather. Stay warm, stay dry, stay well. Feel yourself cradled by everything that is occurring to allow for your soul expansion, widening, and completion of whatever project you've chosen for this life. As always, it is with the greatest of respect, honor, love for you here on this planet at this time. Be well. Bye-bye. Okay. God, I can't stop it. Why is it not ending? Very strange. Very strange.